Hey, what's going on, guys? Patrick here with Bearded Bastard Outdoors Green Beret Survival. We're going to continue our discussion on land navigation. If this is the first time that you're seeing this video, go ahead and check out the other videos on land navigation in order to become a master at land navigation so you never get lost again. You can self-recover, or you can save yourself or save another person. In today's video, we're going to try to put everything together. We're going to go back to our map, and I'm going to show you how to actually read a grid square, and plot a grid coordinate. Why do you need to know that? If you're trying to get self-recovered, or if you're trying to find other people and you are trying to give coordinates to a rescue team, or a rescue team's trying to give you grid coordinates for you to move to in order to be recovered, you might want to be able to figure that out. But if you stick to the end, but we got to go over the basics, right? You can't do any of the sexy stuff unless you become a master of the basics first. So we're going to master these basics. We're going to go over it. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I will show you my top 5 tips to become more effective at land navigation. So without further ado, let's get her done. You know, before we get into it, I do want to mention, like, why do we care about land? I mean, you're watching this, so obviously you care a little bit about land navigation. You either want to learn it or you want to get better at it. Land navigation is a dying art. We got so much technology nowadays that, you know, maybe having a map does not cross anybody's mind. I remember when I was younger, in order to go on any road trip, you had to have a big old road map of the highways and and interstates and everything. Nowadays, you just plug in an address on your phone and go. And even if you're hunting or fishing or whatever, you can pull up your map and watch yourself track wherever you're going. And so it has caused complacency, and it has caused a lot of this to really just be a dying art. And but if you're watching this video, obviously you care about it. You want to master it. So here we go. All right, so first things first, we have to hit a couple topics for discussion just to ensure that we're all on the same page. It's called the marginal data. The marginal data includes the title of the map. This is the most prominent feature on the map, whether it's a city or it's a landmark. The scale, and what this is in reference to, is that 1 unit is equal to 50,000 units on the map. So for example, 1 inch is equal to 50,000 inches on the map. Our map edition in series and sheet number, and what that means is that if we are operating in a much larger area, we want to make sure that we have the correct series and the corresponding sheets in order to overlay with our map in order to grow our area. And that looks like this here. So currently we have this map sheet 14774. If we wanted to expand our area, we would need these adjoining sheet numbers. Another important element on the map is our declination. What that means is our relationship from grid north to magnetic north. So for reference, what we would find is converting a magnetic azimuth to grid azimuth, meaning I'm going to shoot an azimuth with my compass and I want to convert it onto our map. I'm going to add 21 degrees. In converting a grid, this is grid north, a grid azimuth to a magnetic azimuth, I'm going to subtract 21 degrees. Another feature that we need to be aware of, again, we have our scale, but we also have our ability to measure our distances, our scale to measure distances, meters, yards, statute miles, nautical miles. We're just going to focus on this here. Our elevation is in meters and our contour interval is 20 meters. That means that if you reference the previous video when we talk about this information, that the distance between this grid, or excuse me, this contour line and this contour line according to our contour interval, is 20 meters. Thus, when calling out our grid coordinates, we have our grid zone identification, 10 Tango. And then our square identification, and what this means is that these double zeros right here, if we were to have on our north to south of our map, our horizontal lines, grid lines, we have this 0, 0 to the north of that 0, 0 line is going to be Echo Hotel, and to the south of those double zeros is going to be Echo Golf. Very important, because if you are above the double zeros and you call it Echo Golf, you are giving off the wrong location. So here it is in application. When you have the double zeros, to the north of the double zeros would be 10 Tango Echo Hotel. And to the south of the double zeros would be 10 Tango Echo Golf. Now, when it comes to reading off grid lines, it's important to know what way to read them. You know, like, we read words, paragraphs, books, whatever, left to right, top to bottom, right? When we're reading off grid squares, we always read to the right and then up. Oh, you thought I was going to flip you off, didn't you? But it'll help you to remember it. Go right and then up. Before we get too far along, let's talk about scale real quick. This map, as we identified, is a 1/50,000 meter map. So we're going to use this portion of our military protractor. The big difference between these is that the larger the number, the more features that you're going to be able to see, but the less information is going to be on that map. So if you're covering a large area, you're going to need more maps. Military maps are commonly found in the 1/50,000 scale, but compasses are also in 1/50,000. An Easter egg for you. All right, and then on the outside of the scale, these are your mils, your milliradians. We're not gonna get too much into that. And on the inside, these are your degrees. This is what you will use to measure azimuth or your direction. As one can assume, the more detail that you can give on your grid coordinate, the more accurate you will be. If I were to just call this grid square right here as a 4-digit grid square, so again, we read to the right, so 04, 05, and then up, 83. And because we are south of the double zero line, I would call that 10 Tango Echo Golf 0583. That would give you an accuracy of 1,000 meters. If I were to give, again, 10 Tango Echo Golf 055835, somewhere here in the middle, that would be a 6-digit grid coordinate, and that would get you within 100 meters accuracy. And if I wanted to go further than that and say 10 Tango Echo Golf 0552 8353, for example, that would get me within 10 meters. So let's go ahead and look at how to plot a point. Let's say I want to plot the top of that hill right there. Get out my protractor, for one. I would make sure that I can read left to right to make sure that it's facing the right way. I'm going to line up because we always read left or to the right and then up. Where my two lines bisect, it's hard to do looking through a camera. I'm going to go ahead and slide it until my scale bisects that hilltop. Then I'm going to go ahead and read my mark. So that's about 05, what? 92, and then 8315. So we would write that, again, because we're south of the double zero line, we have our grid zone designation of 10 Tango, Echo Golf, 05, 92, 83, 15. Again, those are the grid squares, and then these are according to the protractor. And because that's 8 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that gets me within 10 meters. If I did 05, 9, 8, 3, 2, because I rounded, don't know why, but whatever, that'll get me within 100 meters. And if I just do 05, 8, 3, that'll get me within 1,000 meters. All right, so back on our point, we go ahead and mark our point right there. Okay, and we go ahead and we measured where that is. Okay. Now let's say that I want to move from that location to right here. Let's go to this pond right here. So I have my start point, which is that hilltop. And I want to, and let's say I'm meeting somebody at this intersection right here. Let's say I'm meeting somebody right there for pickup. So again, I know that I am in 10 Tango, Echo Golf, 02, 82. Okay, so I'll go ahead and write that over here. 10 Tango, Echo Golf, 02, leave some space, 82. So right now I'm within 1,000 meters. I go ahead and line up my protractor, the bottom left corner, and I slide it over until I meet my mark, making sure everything stays on line and stays straight. And it looks like I'm on 6 even, maybe even 5-9, but pretty much 6 even right here, right? And then up here, pretty much 7 even. So if I wanted to, I can do 5-9, 7-1. That'll still get me within 10 meters. I mean, quite frankly, if you can't find a road intersection to the east of a pond, then yeah, I don't know how many digits you need. But that's our end point. So now we need to figure out how to get from point A to point B. Now what I can do is I can take my protractor, and where I have these 2 cross lines centered on my start point, then I can just take a straight edge to my end point, and I can read the degree. So about 262 degrees, it looks like. But remember, we're converting from grid to magnetic. So in order to convert from grid to magnetic, we have to go back to our declination. When we're converting from grid to magnetic, we're going to subtract the GM angle, which is 21 degrees. So 262 minus 21, whoops. So 262 minus 21, 1, 4, 241 degrees magnetic. Now let's take it one step further. Now that we have our azimuth or our heading, let's go ahead and plot, and let's just go ahead and make sure that we have a back azimuth in case we come into trouble, right? So because I am greater than 180 degrees, I'm going to subtract 180 degrees. So 180 degrees, 1 minus 0 is 1. 14 minus 8 is 6. So 61 degrees magnetic is my back azimuth. Well, now that we got that out of the way, let me share with you my 5 best tips to help you be successful in land navigation. Number 1, you saw how long it takes to plot your point, shoot an azimuth, And I mean, we didn't even talk about route planning or even measuring the route for that matter. Tip number 1 is terrain association. So again, if you haven't watched the video yet, go watch the video on how to identify terrain features. Terrain associate, rather than having to shoot, gnat's ass azimuths from point A to point B to B to C, C to D, D to E. Terrain associate until you're within about 200 to 300 meters from your end state, or excuse me, your end point, and then shoot an azimuth from that point to that point and do what's referred to as dead reckoning. You're going to increase your speed over the terrain to get to where you need to go. And so if you have a mission, then you're going to get there faster. If you're trying to get recovered and you have to meet a recovery team, you're going to get there fastest. Let me show you just a quick thing. So going back to our previous example of moving from this hilltop to this intersection in order to get recovered. So obviously I'm on a hilltop. And as I move down the hilltop, or as I move across here, I mean, I'm moving a considerable distance. I'm moving almost 1, 2, 3, 3.5 clicks or 3,500 meters. I don't want to just shoot a straight line to 3,500 meters because I'm going to drift to the left or to the right and I might miss it. So what I can do is take, either start from here and work here or work backwards. I like to work backwards. And so obviously I see this road right here, right along this spur. Okay, so this is high ground. This is low ground. We want to avoid the low ground, especially this draw. That's going to be ugly, depending on what it is we're doing, of course. If we're being tactical, maybe, but in this instance, we're not. But I have this spur right here. I have this high ground. I want to hug the high ground as much as possible. So I can follow this high ground. And I have a draw here. So obviously I want to stay at that tip where the high ground is. And I got another draw tip here. So I want to stay here and continue until my hilltop. Okay, so rather than shooting an azimuth and risk drifting, I can start from here and I can say I'm going to stay to the south of, I'm going to move in a westerly direction, a southwesterly direction. I'm going to stay on the south side of this road and I'm going to skirt this high ground until I hit this draw. At the tip of this draw, I'm going to come back to the high ground. And then I'm going to continue, and then from here, I'm going to shoot southwest until I come to the tip of this draw. And staying on the high ground, I'm going to shoot due west, draw, and then I'm going to shoot directly west until I hit this pond, this body of water. Tip number 2, you Neanderthals, use your compass over your protractor. Again, this will only work if it's a 1/50,000 square map. But let me show you what I mean. Protractor, but we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to use our compass. So using our compass, get over this, directly over this so that you can see it. And then you do the same thing down here. You line up your compass, and then you just count your tick marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, and then we counted 9 too before with our protractor. So that's a cool way to use your compass. Now this next tip is probably my favorite, and you've probably never seen this before. So check this out. As you can see by my compass, my map is not properly oriented, or as officers in the military like to say, orientated. The way I orient my map is I will go ahead and ensure that the straight edge of my compass is in line with the north-south running grid lines. And then I will just turn my map until my compass is in line with the north-seeking air, with magnetic north. Now my map is oriented with magnetic north. Now, why is this important? I simply line my start point and my end point, and that gets me, best I can show you with the stupid tripod thing, and that gets me about 260, 261. Now, if you remember before when we had our protractor, we estimated 262. Now, the next two tips you might think are kind of lame, but they're absolutely probably the most important. And the next tip that I'm going to share with you is to not panic. If you've never been lost in the woods before, that first time you are, it is a spiritual journey. That first time that you are lost in the woods and you don't know if you're going to make it out or not. Goes into the next tip is you have to have a plan. There are so many other tips and tricks that I can show you. I will do my best to incorporate them into future videos if you want. But you have to make a plan. You have to have backstops. You have to know your handrails. You have to have an oh shit plan. Okay, you have to have contingency plans. That said, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please smash that subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Help support the channel. Help keep the channel growing and moving and grooving. I enjoy teaching, and so I'm going to do what I can to keep bringing you as much value as I humanly possibly can. So, until next time, see you later.